inform each of you that you have constitutional rights and protections. They apply to each of you individually. And one of you has two cases, so it applies to both cases, though. You have the right to remain silent. That means that each of you cannot be compelled to make any kind of statement. You cannot be required to answer questions. You cannot be required to submit written paperwork that has your signature, especially papers that admit or confess to wrongdoing. You have a right to a jury trial. Each of you in each case has the right to select 6 people with the help of your attorney and participation by the state. Those 6 people would hear the entire evidence and presentations regarding your charges, and those 6 people will decide whether you have been proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt or whether you're not guilty. That's the right to a jury trial. You each have the right to confront witnesses. What that means is that if either of you decided to go to trial on any case, you would have the right to, if you decided to go to trial, the state would have to try and prove you guilty beyond reasonable doubt by submitting testimony, witnesses. In turn, you, each of you, and your attorney respectively would have the right to question, cross-examine, or challenge any witness who would testify. That's called the right to confront witnesses. Each of you, when the case is over, when the dust is settled, each of you has the right to appeal. Now, that's a difficult and technical right, but it is nonetheless a right. That right, you, yourself, your attorney, or the attorney by himself or herself, or the two of you combined, could demand in a proper fashion, using the right paperwork and the right information, you could demand that a higher court review the official record of your case for whatever legal challenges you submitted. There would be time limitations that you'd have to be careful of. So if you choose at any time to appeal, be mindful that there are some technical rules you'll have to follow. Each of you has the right to demand, and so does the state in your individual cases. You have the right to demand an open public hearing in the open courtroom. That right has been suspended to some extent because of the COVID pandemic. But in order to proceed, in order to go through this plea that you have agreed to do, each of you has had to review and sign a document that's titled Consent, Defendant's Consent to Video Conference. So those rights I have informed you of verbally. Ms. Kaylin Rivera is a certified court reporter and is making an official record of our proceedings at this time. The rights and protections will be repeated in writing to you. Do each of you understand the different rights and protections that I have reminded you of? Mr. Candia.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Grigg.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Griggs.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, in order to proceed with your plea bargain that you have agreed to do, each of you had to review documents and sign them. In each of your individual cases, are you, each of you, telling me under oath that you have reviewed these documents that have your signature, and you did so with the assistance and the counsel, the guidance of your individual attorney? Mr. Griggs.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Brigg,
Yes, Your Honor.
and Mr. Candia.
Yes, sir.
Among the papers that you reviewed and signed, one of the most critical ones is the one that identifies each of you individually, and it reminds you of some very important information. Among them, that you are acknowledging that you have been informed and you have been guided regarding the rights and protections that are involved in each of your cases. The document is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. There's a section in there that talks about and reminds you that in each of your individual cases, you've entered into a plea agreement. And in doing so, you are giving up some rights and protections that we have discussed. And you're acknowledging in that document that you signed, you acknowledge and agree, yes, you have been so informed. And I've done it verbally, and now you're doing it in writing. Did you understand that that's what you were doing, Gilbert Brigg?
Yes, Your Honor.
Jesse Candia? Sometime today, Mr. Candia.
Yes, sir.
Andrea Martinez
Yes, Your Honor.
and Philip Griggs.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, there's another document that's, all of these documents identify you at the top of the document. There's a document that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. I explained to you earlier basically what an appeal, the right of appeal is, because each of you is making a plea bargain with the state. To do that, you're giving up the right of appeal. Is that understood, Ms. Martinez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Briggs?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Candia?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Brigg?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, State, tell me about, are there going to be any probations among the four people? Actually, and there's a fifth case on Mr. Griggs. There's
Judge,
2 cases.
on Mr. Brigg, the other case has already been dismissed. We're only proceeding on 643-266.
You're going to do what on 266?
It is a probation offer, Judge. And
265,
that case has been dismissed.
643, 265,
Yes, Judge.
the DWI second.
Yes, Judge.
All right.
And all of these offers, except for Griggs, are straight probation. Griggs is deferred.
All right. Well, let's start with Mr. Candia. What type of probation is that going to be?
It is straight probation, Judge.
All right. And Mr. Gilbert's going to be straight probation. I'm sorry, Mr. Brigg, on
Yes.
266.
Yes, Judge.
Ms. Martinez,
Is straight probation as well.
and on Mr. Griggs on
Is deferred.
625953.
It's deferred, Judge.
That's a deferred. And what about 643265? Is that his or not?
Judge, I don't believe so. I just am showing one case.
I only have
Sorry.
one case.
Is it just one case on Mr. Griggs?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, I've got that mistaken. All right, now. Each of you will have applied for probation. And that is what's called community supervision, meaning that whatever jail sentence you are given will be suspended so long as you complete and obey 100% of the conditions of supervision. Those conditions will be read to you, you will sign them, and they'll put a copy in your hands. But the essence is that you are entering a written legal binding agreement with this court in exchange for my not putting you in jail directly. You will live up to the conditions of supervision. If you fail or refuse to live up to the conditions of supervision, the state may ask me to give you notice, bring you in for a hearing. And if the evidence supports it, in my opinion, then I'll be able to go ahead and put you in jail. In reference to Mr. Griggs, who's getting deferred adjudication, in your situation, you're getting a probation, but it is a specialized one wherein I will not find you guilty, even though there will be a finding of sufficient evidence to find you guilty. And if you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, then the case gets dismissed, whatever you plead to. We'll handle that shortly. If you fail or refuse to live up to the conditions, then the state may ask me to bring you in after official notice, have a hearing. And if, in my opinion, it is appropriate, then I can enter a finding of conviction that follows you the rest of your life. And you'd be looking at 100% of the range of punishment for the offense to which you are pleading. Is that understood, Mr. Griggs?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So let's start off with Mr. Kanya. You were charged with theft, 100 to 750. State, what is the agreement on a plea?
Judge, the paperwork says no contest, Judge.
Yes, Judge, no contest.
And that is this your official plea at this time, Mr. Kanya?
Yes, sir.
All right. For each of you that may be pleading no contest, a no contest plea in this court is considered a guilty plea. And it's sufficient for me to convict you based solely on your own plea. Now, did anyone, who else is pleading no contest? Mr. Brigg, what will be your plea?
It's a plea of no contest, Judge.
No contest.
And what state, is there a motion on his case?
No, Judge, no motion on that case.
All right. And what about 643-266?
Judge, 643-266 is the,
643-265, you said is being dismissed, right?
yes, Judge, the dismissal has been submitted.
And 643-266, what is the charge on that?
It's failed to stop and give info, Judge.
I'm sorry?
Failed to stop and give info.
Okay. And that is a Class B?
Yes, Judge.
All right. To that charge, Mr. Brigg, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Gilbert Brigg,
It's a no contest plea, Judge.
Yes, Judge.
you have pled no contest. I accept your plea. Ms. Andrea Martinez, is there a motion on her case?
No, Judge, the state is proceeding with DWI as alleged in the charging instrument.
All right, to that charge, how are you pleading, ma'am?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Ms. Settle, is that accurate?
No, Judge, actually, we'd like to enter a no contest plea.
Sorry.
It's okay.
No problem. So, let's try it again, Ms. Martinez. To that charge, how do you plead?
No content, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Griggs, is there a motion on Mr. Griggs' part? State.
Yes, Judge, on Mr. Griggs, the state moves to amend the information to add count 2 obstruction and then proceed solely on count 2.
All right.
Objections to that, Your Honor.
Mr. Manning? Defense, no objection.
No objections, Your Honor.
And do you also waive the 10-day notice of amendment?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
And that being the case, then the court grants that motion. Mr. Griggs, you are the beneficiary of the motion that you're no longer being charged with DWI. Instead, you're being charged with obstruction of a passageway, highway, or waterway. To that charge, how are you pleading, sir?
Guilty, Your Honor.
All right. Now, on each of your pleas, the 4 of you, Mr. Candia, no contest.
No contest, sir.
Yes, sir. On each of your pleas, Mr. Brigg, no contest. Ms. Martinez, no contest. And Mr. Griggs, guilty. Did anyone threaten you, intimidate you, or promise you anything other than the plea bargain that you made in exchange for the plea that you're entering? Mr. Griggs,
No, sir, Your Honor.
pardon me?
No, sir, Your Honor.
Ms. Martinez,
Yes, Your Honor.
who threatened you or intimidated you?
Nobody, Your Honor.
That's what I'm asking. Did anyone threaten or intimidate you or promise you anything other than the plea bargain that you're making?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Gilbert Briggs
No, Your Honor.
and Mr. Jesse Candia.
No, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Candia
Yes, sir.
and State, you have pled
Yes, Judge.
no contest. Based on your plea and the evidence, I find you guilty. State, what is the agreed punishment?
Judge, the agreement in this case is 180 days Baird County Jail probated over a term of 12 months, a $400 fine plus court costs with 200 of that fine probated, 48 community service hours, and the ATSE course.
P like Paul or T like Tom?
T like Tom.
I got you. Anything else?
That's it, Judge.
All right,
That is correct, Judge. That's our understanding.
very good. Then that being the agreement, Mr. Candia, tell me how you make a living.
I'm self-employed right now.
I'm sorry,
I do landscaping,
what kind of money do you make?
like $10 an hour,
40 hours a week?
30 right now for the weather. 30 hours a week.
All right, do you have children minor children you support?
Yes, sir.
How many?
2.
What are the ages?
21 and 40.
Well, I asked you if you had minor children.
Oh, no minor children, sir.
There are no minor children then.
No.
All right, then I approve the agreement has been reached on punishment. You are sentenced to 180 days Bexar County Jail. Probated, suspended for 12 months. You are fined $400. Those $400, if you live up to all the conditions of supervision, you will wind up paying $200 only. You will perform 48 hours of community service, restitution. You will attend and complete in good faith the anti-theft course called ATSE. Your supervisory fee will be $25 a month. All four of you will wait around after this proceeding, and you will meet with Ms. Maricela Luna, who will explain to you how to get into the participation in the probation program. Also, each of you is ordered to come in within 1 week of today to the offices of County Court at Law Number 5 and have your thumbprint placed on the documents that are required by law. Is that clear? Mr. Candia?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Brigg,
Yes, sir.
you have entered a plea of no contest to failure to stop and give information where damage in excess of $200 was done.
Yes,
I
sir.
find based on your plea and the evidence that you are guilty. State, what is the agreement on punishment?
Judge, the agreement is 180 days Bear County Jail, probated for a term of 8 months, a $500 fine plus court costs, 48 community service hours, a driver's safety course, and restitution, if any.
To be determined. Mr. Gilbert Brigg,
Yes, sir.
tell me how you make a living. And first, before that, do you have children that you support?
My children are older, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
And my children are already adults. They're older.
All right, sir. Tell me, what is your income? What do you do?
I work for a roofing company. I'm a sales rep.
How long have you worked for them?
About 6 months.
And what do you earn, sir?
I'm sorry, I did hear that last.
What do you earn? What's your income?
It depends on it's based on sales, so it ranges.
What is it? What is average?
Average is about 4,000 a month.
Okay. I'm going to adjust your fine a little bit. I'm going to make it $650.
Okay, thank you.
Your income can tolerate it. Your supervisory fee will be $43 a month.
Okay.
Andrea Martinez, thank you. All right. And I approve the rest of the agreement. The fact that I raised the fine a little bit means that you have the right to start all over again and reject that $150 increase, but that's your call. Let me know what you want to do.
Let me speak to him about that, please, Your Honor.
All right, I do sentence you, I do approve the rest of the agreement. You're sentenced to 180 days, probated for 8 months. The fine is $650. You'll perform 48 hours of community service restitution. You'll do the driver safety program, and you'll pay restitution, if any. That's to be determined to how much and to whom. All right, Mr. Locke, let me know what your decision is on whether accepted or not. Ms. Martinez, you were charged with driving while intoxicated. You have pled no contest to that. Based on your plea and the evidence, I find you guilty. State, what is the agreement?
Judge, the agreement in this case is 180 days Bear County Jail, probated for a term of 12 months, It's a $400 fine plus court costs. 200 of that is probated. 30 hours of community service, DWI education, victim impact panel, TAP evaluation, and ignition interlock for half the term.
That's our understanding, Judge.
All right. Ms. Martinez, how do you make a living? Do you first, and part of that question is, do you have minor children that you support?
No, Your Honor.
All right. How do you make a living?
I'm a medical assistant nurse.
And roughly what is your income per month?
Right now, I just finished college and I'm in 5 weeks training that I need to complete of my CEUs. And my goal is to make at least $1,800 a month for living expenses and to take care of my responsibility.
All right.
Judge, just for the record, she's not currently employed. I don't believe she has been a full-time student, set to graduate in December.
Yes, and I'm in the process of my 5 weeks training of my CEUs to be completed for my license in Austin. But I am going to do my responsibility towards paying this
All
and
right.
work hard. My goal is to get my internship with pay.
All righty. Okay.
That's my goal.
Then the court does find you guilty, and I approve the agreement that you have reached in reference to the punishment. You are sentenced to 180 days, Bexar County Jail, probated, suspended for 12 months. You are fined $400 plus court costs. If you complete 100% of your conditions of supervision, you will pay 200, not 400. You will perform 30 hours of community service restitution. You'll do a complete DWI education program. You'll submit to a TAP evaluation and the recommendation subject to my approval. You'll have ignition interlock installed in your vehicle for a continuous 6 months. During that 6 months, you're not to drive any other vehicle other than your own with the ignition interlock. During the entire 12 months, you're not to drink any alcohol at all, period. Is all that clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your supervisory fee will be $25 a month. Mr. Griggs,
Yes, Your Honor.
to the charge of obstruction of a passageway, highway, or waterway, how do you plead, sir?
That's not you, Gilbert.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Judge, which defendant's name did you say on that case?
Griggs, Griggs. It's Philip Griggs.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Your Honor, we're here in the courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. To that charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
All right. Based on your plea of guilty and the evidence, I find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty. That charge is obstruction, but I do not find you guilty because you have entered into an agreement with the state in reference to the deferred adjudication. I do not find you guilty. Instead, I'm placing you on deferred adjudication per the agreement that you've made. State, tell me what that agreement is in specific.
Yes, Judge. It's for a term of 16 months. It's a $300 fine plus court costs, 48 hours of community service, DWI education, victim impact panel live, the TAP evaluation, and ignition interlock for half the term.
Mr. Griggs, how do you make a living?
Work in a warehouse, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
Work in a warehouse, Your Honor.
All right, do you have minor children you support?
No, sir.
And what is your income at the warehouse you work?
It's about 2,000 a month.
And Your Honor,
Hey, tell me why the fine is so low, where he's gotten a hell of a deal down to obstruction.
Your Honor, that's our doing. Mr. Griggs has got, he really wants to be successful on this. He's got significant bills. He's totally on his own. By the time he pays rent, by the time he pays his insurance, car payment, he only has, and gas, he's only got a couple $100 a month extra. And that's why we negotiated for the lower fine so that he could afford to pay it and be successful on the probation.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'll accept the agreement. You are granted 16 months deferred adjudication. Your fine is $300 plus court costs. You will perform 48 hours of community service restitution, a DWI education program, the Victim Impact Panel Live. You'll submit to a TAP evaluation and the recommendations subject to my approval. You'll have ignition interlock installed in your vehicle for 8 months continuously. During that time, you're not to drive any vehicle other than your own with the ignition interlock. You heard what I said about y'all showing up at the court for your thumbprint.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. In fact, while you're here, since you're in the courtroom, you might take advantage of the opportunity and have your thumbprint placed on the documents. Your supervisory fee will be $56 a month. Any questions, Mr. Messenger?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Griggs?
No, Your Honor.
Any questions, Ms. Martinez?
Sorry, Your Honor, no.
Ms. Settle? Elizabeth Settle, any questions?
I'm sorry, Your Honor, no.
And Jeb Locke, did you decide whether you want to proceed or do you want to start all over?
Yes, Judge, we will proceed and accept the sentence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Candia and Mr. Montoya, any questions?
No, sir.
All
No,
right,
Judge.
this concludes the